Don't tell me what I'm about, lady. Okay, so we're about to do a fun video today. So you've seen us do our top five best games of the year for the last that was last decade, right? Or the decade before.
The first decade.
Yeah, there we go. So we're done with those, but we decided to do something a little fun here. We're going to do a little debating on if we have a certain game. You guys might know this game. It's not too big of a series called Assassin's Creed. And we're going to debate just the first one. So just Assassin's Creed 1. And really what we're kind of coming up with is it a classic? Classic doesn't have to be perfect, but is it significant enough to make it that it's that the word classic over it? And I think games
that generation,
and I'd say the games that to give an idea, the games I would consider classic would be something like Uncharted 2, Mass Effect 2, God of War for the PS4. Like those to me are like kind of the defining games of that generation. Would you agree?
Yes, for the most part, but I also think classic can be subjective to each person.
Oh well, yeah, of course. I'm just saying, like those are the style of games that I'm thinking of when I think it's the ones that you're like, oh yeah, that generation, or I remember that as a kid. So anyway, we're gonna discuss and we're gonna have each other give different points of why it's considered a classic, which Robbie will give his point of view, and then why I don't think it's a classic, which I will give my point of view. And I think the biggest one that we can tackle first, the subject, and I'll let you go first because I will try not to ramble on about this guy, but Altair is probably the biggest negative for me in the series or this game that makes it not a classic. But I'll get to why I don't like him. But you said, as you say, you love him, you're a simp for him. Why is he so amazing?
Absolutely. Okay, well, I'm actually not a simp for Altair. That was more of a joke, but nonetheless. So, as I stated in our last video, I recently replayed AC1. And I got to experience that story and just Altair again as a character in fresh memory. And there was a lot of qualities that I saw in Altair as a character that you don't really see in any of the other assassins in the series. Altair is obviously very serious, which I think is probably, if I'm guessing, one of the reasons why you don't like him, because he doesn't have much flamboyancy or personality in that sense.
A little bit.
But a big reason why I love Altair is because he's a mission man, and that doesn't necessarily mean that he follows orders, without, any kind of question, because during the entire game, as you go down, because if you remember, it's 9 targets. That's the base of the game, is that you're going to Damascus, Jerusalem, and Acre, 3 targets in each, and you have to assassinate all 9 of them. The reason why I love Altair is because he actually does develop throughout the game. Because in the beginning, he's killing innocents. He is endangering the Creed's tenets in the beginning of the game. And that is why Al-Mualim, the headmaster of the Brotherhood and for Levantine, stabs him and basically demotes him and says, listen, bro, you're fucked. You got to do what I say or I'm just going to kill you. And so it starts off that way, yeah. But as he goes throughout the game and he starts to see all these targets, like here, Garnier, he starts seeing that these men are devoted to their causes and they are devoted to making the world a better place. And again, he knows about the Templars, but he doesn't know they are Templars yet, I think until about halfway through the game. Nonetheless, as he goes throughout the game, he starts to question Al-Mualim until there's actually a scene, I think it's, about halfway through the game, where he says, I'm not doing any more of your bitch work. You better tell me what the fuck is going on, or you can just go ahead and kill me. And he's like, I'm not killing one more person until you tell me what's going on. And he gets Al-Mualim to confess that these are Templars and, they are trying to possess the Apple of Eden to obviously have mind control, because that's pretty much what the Apple of Eden is, over the world, and bring world order. And as you get more later towards the game, you can see that he's starting to come with terms that, yes, these men are united in their causes to make the world a better place, but he also knows that these men are dangerous in that sense, because they are trying to possess, a godly artifact that can control the minds of humanity. And obviously, as an assassin in the Brotherhood, they themselves provide somewhat order from the shadows. So I think that's good enough for right now, and we can go into a little bit more depth if you want. I'll have some kind of rebuttal, but I am interested in hearing what you have to say. Yes, you don't learn about Altair's complete backstory as a person, but I have a few notes here that I'll plan in my rebuttal to kind of support him a little bit.
All right, so the story you just told is about as interesting as the story gets. This is great, which isn't that all that interesting. And the biggest reason is because you can have just a steady, normal, okay story, but the characters are what brings it up. It makes you remember it. There's a lot of games with just okay stories. Uncharted, all the games, okay stories, but the characters are like what you love, will you remember. So Altair, right off the bat, he is like one of the most bland characters ever in gaming, to the point I actually forgot his name when we were talking the other day until you said Altair is great, and I was like, oh, that's that fucking guy's name. So I forgot that. And the thing is, I know you're saying like what's different about him is that he's more true to being an assassin, and in a way that's true, but nobody wants to fucking play a 9-hour game or however long it is for playing with a guy who isn't interesting, who isn't fun, who isn't doing anything other than kill. What are you doing? What's an apple of Eden? Like, I could say those things. Like I don't need a character to give me something more. And that's my problem, is like, you say that he's an assassin, he's got to be more like reserved and stuff. But we have so many movies with characters similar to Altair, but with actual like attitude. With like imagine if, like, I wrote down like John Wick. Like, imagine if John Wick was Altair level. Would anybody be voting for him? Would we have 3 movies of John Wick? No, we love this guy because he loves puppies. He had a wonderful life, and he, of course, went to shit. And you learn about him through these movies that he's a pretty decent person, despite killing people. But he's a pretty decent person. Altair, you don't learn shit about him other than he wants to stop bad guys. Well, that's good. Everybody in the world should want to stop bad guys, but he doesn't do anything. You don't relate to him. You don't feel anything for him because he doesn't feel like an actual person. He feels just like what I call like the old Western RPGs, where they put you into the character and then you make your own story, but it's not an RPG. You don't make your own story. You just follow this story. And so he has like zero personality. You really have like zero interest in what his life is because you don't know anything about his life. And he's also an asshole. So this is my biggest thing with writing, is if you're going to give us an asshole character, make him funny, make him at least relatable of why he's an asshole. Give us a story that goes, oh, well, he's an asshole because his brother killed his whole family and murdered everybody, and now he hates everybody. No, Altair is just an asshole because he's an assassin, and that's it. That's his whole story. And I hate this guy. And he is a very self-interest type of guy. Like, all he does is want to do stuff for himself until he wants to stop the bad guys. And then when he wants to stop the bad guys, no shit, that's your whole life. That's all we know about you, is that you're supposed to stop these bad guys. Like, there's nothing else to him. That's it. He's just a good guy in a bad world, and he has to stop it. So yeah, I hate Altair. He's like one of the worst, blandest characters ever created.
That's pretty brutal.
Well, it's the worst part of the game for me. Altair is the worst part. The other points I have about the game that we're about to get into aren't as harsh, because Altair is really what ruined the experience for me, to the point where I remember almost every assassin, and there's games worse than Assassin's Creed in the series, but I still remember the characters, even if I don't remember the names. I remember them. Altair is just bland. And to me, I always tell people, I'd rather watch a bad movie that's so horrible and stupid than watching a boring movie. Boring movies are the worst because you can't even laugh at it. You're just sitting there waiting until it ends. And so luckily, the gameplay isn't nearly as bad as Altair. But Altair is definitely the worst main character for Assassin's Creed for me. Like,
Can I go? Huh? Can I go into my notes now?
Yeah, go.
Okay, let me just scan a little bit here. Let's see. So this obviously does not take place in Assassin's Creed 1, but you said Altair doesn't care about anyone but himself.
No, you can't use Revelations because I agree that he gets better when he has a new writer much later, and he has one of the better stories in Revelations.
Okay, but we're talking about Altair as a character, so this expands the entire series.
No, just Assassin's Creed 1, because he does get better. I'm not going to say he's not off, but in Assassin's Creed 1, he's awful. He is awful.
So he sucks in 1, but he's okay in Revelations.
Yeah, because he gets a writer. Like, he gets a writer who actually cares about giving him a backstory, and he's not even an asshole in Revelations. He's actually a good person who helps people. It's like such a character change that I was like, oh, he is a decent person.
Okay, fair enough. Look, I'm not saying that Altair is a perfectly written character. I'm not going to say that at all because I don't think he is. I don't think he is. I don't think there's any really perfectly written characters. I think there's flaws with each. You know, I would even say like Kratos, like Nathan, and other like big time, protagonists in games. They of course have their issues, and but the reason
Altair is on the level of Kratos.
No.
Are you serious? Okay. I was gonna say, don't give me a heart attack. I don't even like Kratos that much.
The reason I connect with Altair so much is because playing this game as a 14-year-old kid, I thought he was the supreme badass. And he has so many quotable lines in this game that you would know if you recently replayed it. Because he really does. And you know what it is? Is his voice actor amazing? No, but he's very somber and monotone. And that makes him somewhat, it makes his voice pleasing to hear because yes, like he will get animated sometimes. And yeah, sometimes his lines aren't delivered perfectly. But you know what? Like, I think that, do I think he is a supremely written character in AC1? No. Do I think he's a pretty good written character or even, very good written character? I would say so. Is he on the level of Kratos in God of War, the remake? No. Would he be on the level of like Nathan Drake and like the Uncharted games and whatnot? Maybe not, because I mean, you definitely learn more about Nathan through those games. But I think with it being the precursor to the series and being the foundation of the series, I think they did a pretty good job in terms of just showcasing that, obviously they didn't build the entire series around him because of assholes like you. No, I'm kidding. Because like people were complaining that whatever, no personality, whatnot. But I think he connects with me too, just as of today, because he's a simple man with a simple mission, and I feel like that's similar to how I view myself these days. And I can relate to him in a lot of senses of how he sees the world. Because like he's an asshole because he knows the world is dark and cruel. And he's trying to make it a better place the best way that he knows how. And once you realize that, these men are Templars and they are trying to, impose world order, he knows that he has to stop them. And he's not doing that because it's just his mission. He's doing that because he knows if he doesn't do this, everyone's going to be fucked. So in the end, like, maybe on not such a grand fucking huge scale, but in some way it becomes, like a save the world type of ideal.
Yeah, well, my problem with this is this. I think I said in my original review, it's been years. Basically, he's an Arabic Batman. That's what he is. And the problem with that, though, is that we root for Batman. We love Batman because of his mission after what happened to his parents, because we see him saving people. Altair, we see him murdering people. And so you have
bad people.
What?
Bad people.
Well, you just said he killed innocents in the beginning. So
he did, he absolutely did in the beginning, because
so your mission in a writing standpoint is, okay, he starts off bad, but we can make him good. but they never do that. They never give you a story like you're like, oh, you're such a good person, Altair. Like you never get that. You
I
never
don't think
get
that was the mission with the game.
well, exactly. It failed the mission because that's what writing should be. If you're going to give a shitty or not a shitty, but a character like Altair that's rough and gruff and hates the world because of its coldness, then you have to make the character surrounding him make him interesting, boost him up, and they just didn't do that. So maybe it's just the writing of the whole game for me, but Altair really just annoys the shit out of me. So I'm just going to end it with, I don't like Altair because he's boring, bland. He brings nothing to the table. He's never mentioned in any Assassin's Creed talk. And there's a reason for it, is because they just they need to get rid of him, and they put him in a little part in Revelations, like to just bring back some old fans for a minute, and then they let him go. So yeah, Altair is the worst part of the game for me.
This is bullshit. I don't agree to do this video anymore. I'm out. No, I'm kidding.
All right.
So I think obviously I respect your opinion greatly, and while I do disagree with you, I think your reasons are valid. Okay, absolutely. As someone who recently replayed the game though and experienced it firsthand, I still do enjoy Altair as a character.
Well, what you said was interesting. You said when you were 14, you played it, and it was like one of the coolest characters ever. And that made me think, at
that time, yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm thinking, you know what? I can see that because there's characters that when I was that age just stuck with me. And even though I replay them now, they're not quite as cool. I'm just like, yeah, back then though, those were pretty badass, and I think that's anything though, but I do, I see where you're coming from, because maybe when I played it, I'm a little bit older than you. To me, he was just a knockoff of Batman without all right away.
And I think that's fair because like you are a gigantic comic book person, which I am too, to an extent, as you know, but like you even more so, because you read mountains more comics than I do. So I can definitely see you having, that mindset. But see, like for me, it's like, at that time, I'd read Batman comics as a kid, as I told you, but I hadn't read them in years at that point. And Batman Begins had come out, but The Dark Knight hadn't come out yet. So I didn't really have Batman like in my forefront when I was thinking about it. Because when I played it, I was just like, this guy's a badass. Like he does cool shit, and like he says cool shit, and he has a cool voice, and like that's kind of what resonated with me. And the reason why, just to kind of go into it, we can move on because I know we've stayed on this a while. The reason why I think this is a classic is because I've thought about this game so much over the years. It's popped in my head throughout so many games. And not just that, but just touch on the combat a little bit. While simple, yes, I agree.
Oh, good. That's what I want to get into next anyway.
Yeah. People say, remember when like 2009, 2010, and like there was a bunch of like, action adventure games and like brawlers and stuff coming out, and they were saying like, oh, it's like Batman combat. Well, Assassin's Creed started it first, I think.
Oh, the bounce fights and stuff.
Yeah, like bouncing back and forth between enemies, adding counters, parries, like dodge. Like I'm not saying it was the first game to do counters and parries and dodging and stuff like that. But as far as like the bouncing back and forth like between enemies and stuff, that kind of like almost isometric type combat.
Yeah, and that's what I'm gonna get to. It's the simple combat. Isn't always a bad thing, because I even say that in my notes. I'm like, it's not a bad thing. It's the problem with it, with simple combat, is when you have bad level structure and bad overall gameplay. And this game doesn't have horrible gameplay. It has very repetitive, and repetitive is a word that's thrown around so much, and I really don't like that word, because every game is repetitive in a way. Because you're replaying.
That's what I told you the other day.
Yeah. Now, but the difference between a repetitive gameplay mechanic and repetitive gameplay. So in Spider-Man, you're going to keep beating up bad guys over and over again. That's the gameplay point. Kratos, you're going to get into a boat, and then you're going to beat some bad guys, get into a boat and do some crazy epic fight, get into a boat, walk across a bridge. It follows a very similar every time you finish an area. But the difference is when you get off the boat and you fight these new creatures that are crazy badass in God of War, you're stunned because there's new fights, new ways that you have to tackle the situation. Assassin's Creed doesn't do any of that. Assassin's Creed went with a very simple mindset. It said what it wanted to do. You have 9 targets, and you're going to get the information the same fucking way, all 9 targets. We don't want any different.
Those missions are bland. They are the same. Absolutely.
You steal, and you assassinate. And the problem with the game is that the core gameplay is such a cool idea. The assassination part, that is some that you didn't really get before that. But really, what this felt like in a really big way is a tech demo. It felt like this is the bones of what we wanted to create, but we don't have enough to put on it. And so what we're going to do is keep repeating the same gameplay mechanic, and then you get to do the cool assassination, which assassinations are fucking cool ever since the first one. The problem though is that to get there, it is so repetitive, and that's where repetitiveness hurts. Now, I play a lot of RPGs. They're repetitive because you grind, but you don't have to grind. You can usually skip that nowadays because that's how RPGs learn not to make people give up on games. In this, you literally do the same structure and there's nothing new gained. You don't gain anything new in this game. It's literally just doing the same shit. And even when you get new stuff, I don't even know if there's different weapons in this game. Is there?
So in this one, they only have the sword, the dagger, and then you can use the hidden blade in combat, but you can only counter it. It wasn't in 2 until they added that you could use the hidden blades as a weapon.
Yeah, so what it does, some that I have.
So yeah, like 3 weapons.
Yeah, and the gaming, I think with gaming now is my biggest thing is I want to feel that I'm getting progression as I'm going through, even if it's a simple thing like a new move or a new weapon or a new style of gameplay.
Oh, the throwing knives too. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention the throwing knives, but yeah, I apologize.
Yeah, and so this game just to me had just a very simple structure that actually hurt it in the end. I think they went for this because it's their first big like push into more open world. And like I said the other day, this very much, when I played this again about 4 years ago, right before I tried the Ezio collection again, I was playing this. I'm like, so this is basically Prince of Persia, but open world. And they added the assassination feature. One thing they forgot to add is the really unique puzzles in Prince of Persia. Whether you liked them or not, they were unique for the gameplay mechanic. This game's puzzles, I don't even think they have tombs in this, which is one of the best things they bring in 2, is that there's nothing to use. They do have tombs?
No, like they brought in the tombs and
yeah, like I thought again, what it feels like to me is a tech demo, not in retrospect to all the other games in the series. When I played it, I felt like they had the idea, and that's why I don't think it's a horrible game, but the gameplay itself, it wasn't fully realized in this game, even when I played it originally without all the other games in the series.
So you kind of went from combat to mission structure. So I guess I'll start with going from
combat. Put that all together. Put combat into mission structure.
We're just talking about like gameplay in general.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess, like for me, like to start with combat. If you could, I would like for you to go and look at the all of the kill moves in the combat. If you could, search that. If you can, you don't have to, but yeah, like the finishing moves, the killing blows.
Oh, sure.
When I first played this game in 2007, and I experienced the combat for the first time, and you're fighting 2-3 guys, it's cool. And then I started seeing like some of the kill moves, and I was like, oh, this is pretty brutal, and then you get later in the game. Then you're starting to fight 5 guys, 4 guys. Then you're at the end of the game. And if guards are suspicious of you, you get found out, all of a sudden you're fighting 10, 12 motherfuckers. Like there was times this past week that I was killing 13, 14 guards at once. And I was having a good time doing it because of shit like this, The thing about the combat of why I enjoyed it so much is because, yes, I agree with you. It was simple for its time and still is in a lot of ways. It's so cinematic. Like I look at this combat, like the camera angles, the focus on it, just, yes, like some of the camera angles, depending on where you are, if you're in an alley or something like that, they can be off, but just the animations are so beautifully crafted. And I will say this is a very simple thing. Like I'm very much an anal gamer. So I've done this like since I was a kid. I tend to look at games and pick apart certain things that I see. The one thing about AC1 that I like that they did not put back in AC2 is the blood. If you look at the blood in this, it's very much like almost like a dust type of effect, similar to like a Quentin Tarantino vibe. If you remembered in 2, They didn't have that. It was very much more like almost like a paint, that would come out of guys. And like, yeah, it's fine. It's a very small thing, but I've noticed things like that. And like, it's things like that I've thought about over the years. But nonetheless, you look at this combat and like, to me, it's so cinematic. It's so brutal. Like Altair's like just fucking grunts and shit in combat, seeing like his fucking face when he does one of his dagger kills. It's beautiful to look at, I think. And it just looks fantastic. And while it is simple, and yes, while they do get repetitive, it's, you know what? I think it feels great every time I play it. And the combat I thought was so great at that time that after I finished the game, I would just go around picking fights with guards because I just wanted to kill motherfuckers and see these awesome kill moves like that one. I loved the combat so much, and I still enjoyed it to this day. And it definitely had some challenge. Like throughout the game, you get more moves you unlock. You can start to dodge. They add a shield break, so if they're guarding, you can break their block. Obviously you have the grab, and then they add the you eventually get the counter attack and stuff like that. So I just really enjoyed this combat at the time, and I still enjoyed it playing to this day. Because playing it last week felt like when I played it 14 years ago. It just feels very cinematic. The animations are very well crafted, especially for this time. I think 14 years ago, like with motion capture technology, I think they did a pretty fantastic job if you're looking at this shit, just for what they had at that time. So I won't go too much more into combat. I mean, you guys are watching right here, but I just really loved it, and I still love it to this day. The mission structure itself, I'm going to defer to you on that, and like, yes, I'm going to agree with you that yes, it was simple, it was boring, it was bland. There was some that I thought were interesting in terms of conversations or whatnot, when you're eavesdropping on someone, or whenever you're doing a pickpocket mission, stuff like that. But I think the interrogation ones are probably the best, where like you're listening to some fucking prophet preach, and you just go around the corner and punch the shit out of them until he gives you what you want, and then like you just fucking kill him. Like I think one of the best ones is I think it was early in the game when I was in Damascus. The guy goes like, "I gave you what you want." He's like, "I gave you what you want. Oh, what do you want me to do?" And he's like, "You haven't given me everything yet." And he's like, "What else can I possibly give you?" And he says, "Your life." And then just fucking assassinates the motherfucker. It's just like simple things like that of why I also love Altair as a character. Because yeah, somewhat like Batman in a way, but he just had like quotable lines from this game that I still remember to this day, and like they were fresh in my mind after we played this last week. But yes, I will agree. Mission structure, bland, boring. The reason this game, I think, is a classic in the sense is because of its combat and because of the assassination targets in general, and just Altair as a character. So I won't go into too much depth because I feel like I went longer than you, but obviously I have strong feelings about this, so I apologize.
No, I mean, I will agree with the gameplay is the cinematic. And the best part about the game for me is the cinematic feel, is this world that you can explore. And as limited as it was, it wasn't limited back then. It feels limited now.
Yeah, definitely not, because it was three maps, so it felt huge.
I think the traveling of it was limited, but of course they've changed that quite a bit. But the actual world itself was cool. The cinematic kills were cool, and like you said, I like the bounce gameplay. I've always liked that, and I've been a fan of it. And that, and of course Batman and Spider-Man and so on. I don't know what it's really called. I call it the bounce gameplay because it feels like you're bouncing.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what you would call this type of combat.
Yeah, it's a bounce.
Yeah, because like everyone would just call it like Arkham Asylum combat or whatever, Arkham style combat or whatever, because like Batman, I think took it from a game like Assassin's Creed, and like, yeah, they capitalized on it.
Yeah, they definitely refined it in games like that, Assassin's Creed 2 and Batman. So we pretty much got out why we each like the game, or you like the game and I do not. And I want to state it here, I don't think this is a horrible game at all. I would give it around the 6.5, because I do think it does things that later on games should really give it credit for. And I do think some of it is really cool. but the majority of it just it falls flat of what it's trying to go, so much that I believe, and this is a long time ago, so I might be wrong, but the people who made this one, a lot of them left after this, not because
Oh yeah, that's why AC2 feels so different.
Yeah, and it's not because Ubisoft didn't like what they did, because this made a lot of money. I think they felt, I don't know if it was time crunched or whatever it was, but obviously this game was very differently developed than the other games in Assassin's Creed, which most of them started feeling the same until Origin and so on. Okay, so we already talked about it. What would you give the game? I give it a 6 point. I'll give it a 6.5.
Oh, just like rating it.
Yeah, and then we're gonna get into this real fast.
You know what? I think AC1 for me, if I am being completely honest, just what it did for me and just replaying it recently, problems aside, I would say for me, I would say it's a 8.5. I will not go as high to say it is a 9, because I believe 9 is like Uncharted 2, and stuff like that. Possibly the new God of War. Because again, I think today, and I can't even think what games are a 10 to me. Even looking back in the 20 years that I've played video games, what games are truly a 10 to me?
Persona.
Persona I love Persona 5. Yeah, Persona 5 would probably be a 10 for me.
Yeah. That was the last game I'd give an easy 10.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. Because that was just such a great fucking game.
It was really good. That's what we should discuss. Is that a classic? No.
Yeah, right. Well, see, that would be easier for you because you've played all the Personas.
Yeah,
so you can truly say Persona 5 was my first one, and I
think a lot of people's first. A lot of people really got
Photo simp right here, dogs.
Okay, so you 8.5. I'll give it a 6.5. We're going to take a quick look at what Metacritic has given it overall. So here we are with the Metascore at 81 overall. User score 7.6, which is actually pretty good too. So let's get into some of the top. Looks like GamePro.
GamePro gave it a 10.
Fucking GamePro. Are they even still around? The game is not for the impatient or faint of heart, where you can plow through the main story under 20 hours. To truly get every shred of gaming goodness, you will probably have to put in twice the number. So GamePro was obviously paid for this shit. Just kidding.
I think the reason they're saying it, because as far as just collectibles and stuff like that, there is very much not a whole bunch to do outside of the main story. There's the flags, and I can't really think of much else besides that, other than just achievement hunting. Because I did a little bit of that in this, but not so much. So you can grab 20 beggars, you can jump through 20 stalls, stuff like that. But yeah, there's just outside of the main story, there's not a whole lot to do other than just collecting flags and getting viewpoints.
What I find interesting is Boomtown seems to be given real high praise here, saying even with Halo 3 and BioShock adding to the 360's game collection, Assassin's Creed has stepped in and made me worry about choosing what game for Game of the Year. That is a little too high praise for me. You're putting.
They obviously loved it. They obviously, like I said, I said this in, our last video. I felt like Assassin's Creed for me that year. When I think about the best games of that year, Assassin's Creed is on that list for me, and I would put that over BioShock. I think Assassin's Creed 1 is a better game than BioShock. People can hate me for that because I know a lot of people think BioShock is a classic.
Yeah,
I was disappointed by BioShock.
That's a good one because I don't think BioShock.
Because I know you don't like BioShock. Yeah,
I don't like BioShock. You know what? BioShock and Assassin's Creed are very similar in ratings for me, but for different reasons. Anyway, I won't get into that. So, okay. And before we get to the lower reviews for some of the users, although not completely historically accurate, the game still has a fascinating, well thought out story with good replayable gameplay. Now, what's funny, we didn't actually mention the historical stuff, and that is something I've always liked in Assassin's Creed, because if you hate the one game, you're getting a whole new place in a new one. And I always thought that was great. I'm so glad that Assassin's Creed kept, I liked Origins a lot. I did not like Egypt. I don't really care. I'm sorry, people who watch this. I just don't. But I really, really enjoyed the gameplay in that. This, even though I didn't like Altair too much and the gameplay, the actual environment is cool. I love historical stuff like that. So I would have to agree on that part. It might not be, completely accurate, but it's pretty cool that we get games that really dig themselves in the historical part of it.
If I could touch on that actually, because I forgot to mention that in the story. The reason why I think this is also a classic. What other games do you know that have come out and have dealt with this time period?
There's not even, I can't even think of 5 games.
Because what is it? Scroll back to the top. What is it? Like 1191? It should say in the summary what the year is.
Yeah, 1191.
I think it's 1191. Yeah.
Yeah.
What other games do you know that take place in the 12th century?
If even forgetting that, because Altair, that's Arabic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
he is.
Forget
I believe
the time period. We don't get games about Arabic main characters ever. Like
exactly.
It's
that's another thing as well. And like, although he looks almost exactly like Desmond, almost to a fault if you look at him. But
yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to say, and then we can move on. But the Third Crusade, because you know me, I'm somewhat of a history buff. The Third Crusade, I think, is one of the most interesting time periods in history, and that's a big reason why I love the setting of this game. The setting is another reason why I think it is a classic in the sense that there's no other game that did this type of setting and crafted, those 3 cities, pretty well, not completely accurate, but well enough into the sense that I can step into this world and being like, wow, I'm back in Damascus in the 12th century. I'm back in Jerusalem, in Accra. So I just think that's awesome. And it's something that I still have yet to see in a lot of years. Some of the comments can, correct me, but I don't know very many games that take place in the 12th century. Like, when does The Witcher even take place in? Like, is that 14th? Something like that? 15th? Yeah.
No, I agree. I think the historical part is a positive thing of Assassin's Creed, even the first one. Okay, so let's get to more of the negative side.
Game is horrible. I can't believe. Horrible game. Everything is horrible. I'll burn this game. I'll burn my console after I play this.
Okay, so that has 0 out of 10 use.
Okay, fair enough.
Some psycho shit.
Xbox One Magazine UK, is that a 50 or a 60?
50 on the bottom.
Okay, I was going to say, they're kind of hard with you.
See, now this is where I come in. It attempted a lot of ambitious things and it almost succeeded at every one, but it's apparent that these grandiose ideas may have been a little too much to master the first time around. Perfectly what I'm trying to say. It is a tech demo in a sense that it tried a lot of cool things and it just didn't get there. It's an interesting game in itself for that. And then the other bad review is no game regarding when it maybe can try to get away with developing one level and replicate over and over again 12 hours. So
a massive shame because there are some truly breathtaking elements.
And I agree with that. Not quite as harsh as that because I did enjoy the combat itself. I didn't enjoy the mission structure. And so I agree with it, but don't. That's a little too harsh. So I'm right in between these two. It's a game with grand ideas, but they did not live up to them. And for me, a classic has to live up to those grand ideas, even if it's just at the time, because games, they do age. At the time, I wanted to be like, holy shit. And this game did not provide that. On the other hand, a game that came out that year that did provide that was something like Halo 3, when the massive level of scope that game had in the campaign, and then the excellent multiplayer that blew me away after even coming from Halo 2. So this game, great ideas, and it sure as hell paved the way for a franchise that's still going strong 15 years later next year, which we have to get a new game probably next year. But yeah, so before we go though, I did do a poll on YouTube. I did a poll on Instagram. I did a poll on Facebook. Do you think Assassin's Creed 1 is a classic? Now, I have not looked at these since I put them up, so this is all going to be live reaction.
I swear,
think,
it's just you and I.
I think more people are going to actually align with Altair Sempier because I think a lot of people our age, or maybe your age, really do think this is a classic because to them, like you said, it was a major turning point for gaming. And I remember the hype of this game was astronomical. The only one I remember bigger than this in this series was 3. Like 3's hype was intense and insane.
Well, I think because 2 was so fantastic, to a lot of people.
And 3,
absolutely.
That first trailer and the people going to America was like, oh my God. Too bad 3 didn't turn out too great. But
just that time period too is so meaningful to a lot of people, and it's been done so many times that like now we're getting an assassin in that time period. Like fuck yeah. And we can go on 3 at a later time, I think, especially when we get to our next video, because we'll be getting to that time frame.
That's true. Yeah. And I like 3. It's flawed.
Yeah, okay. and I'm gonna get it whenever it's on sale again, and I will get the Ezio collection because I do want to go through those again.
Okay, so these people can't see all my conversations. Okay, so let's click here.
Jeez, that book was whack.
All right, so we have
I knew it.
One no,
I knew it.
One yes, and it's just one. so it's just us. Oh God, what a shame.
I knew it.
What is this shit? Come on.
Oh gosh.
Okay.
Now we're getting into politics.
Yeah. Okay. So let me close out of Facebook because I don't know where that'll lead me.
I wouldn't make a comment on that, but I won't.
So we only voted, me and you.
I told you, I knew it.
Okay, Facebook no.
So now the comments of YouTube must decide for us.
Oh no. First we're going to Instagram. So Instagram's here. Where's my here we
go. I want to see what Jimmy thinks.
Okay. Wow.
One other person voted.
Wow.
Oh wait, viewers or wait? Can you see votes?
I guess you can't see it on this. That sucks.
You just saw viewers. It doesn't say. I'm gonna guess it's one other person.
Well, it says yes and no.
2/3.
Well, here I'll look on my phone. It'll show the viewers.
Yeah, it has to be one more person other than you and I.
Let's see. Okay, so it's actually that's old. So we have. Can you guys see that? Voted for yes, 3, and voted for no, 4. So that's really close. That's 43% yes and 57% no. So that's a lot closer than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
I don't know who that is. And so Instagram is no, but only by 1 vote. Now we're going to go to the YouTube channel. And
that's right. I forgot you did on YouTube too.
All right, and here it is. Wow.
Yeah, boy.
So votes. That's the most of so far. 69% said it is a classic.
Landslide.
Hell no, it isn't a classic. No comments, which is fine because I told them to comment on our video when we put this up. But there we go. So Instagram, no overall. YouTube, yes overall. And Facebook, only me and Robbie votes. So you got 50-50.
I like that 69%.
Yeah, 69, my favorite number. So we're gonna end this here. I hope you guys enjoyed. I had a lot of fun getting to release my anger over this game. Now, it is a game I don't hate, so it was a lot of fun to kind of just talk about what it didn't do 100% and what I liked. And Robbie got to replay this recently, so he's really enjoying it. So I always like to see different opinions on games. But you guys, now that you've watched this, what is your opinion? Do you think this is a classic? Do you think it's not good? Do you think it's right in the middle, like a 7 or an 8, maybe a 7.5, something like that? Let us know. We'd love to discuss it. And maybe we'll be back for another fun debate video on, like, I don't know, God of War. Because I don't think it's a classic. We'll end that there. How do I stop? Damn it, it was going to be epic.
Wait. Are you talking about the 2018 one?
Yeah.
Oh, we're coming back for that one.
Ah,
I think that's a classic.
Kratos music.
Oh, that's good.
Stop this here.